But here's the main part of this passage. I'm just going to read this part for you, and then we can break it down. So he says, for this is the word of promise. This time I will come, and Sarah will have a son. Not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one man, even by her father Isaac, for the children not yet being born, he says, not having done good or evil. Okay, that's really going to be key. That the purpose of God according to election might stand. So if you say to me, I don't like the doctrine of election, I'm going to take it up with God. Tell me what he means here. He means something. Now, then he says, not of works, but of him who calls. Then he says, it was said to her, the older shall serve the younger. God reverses what's normal there, right? As it is written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. Now, Paul is smart, so he says, now that I've told Bill this and Mark, what are they going to do? And he says, what shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? Is he unfair, unjust? He's saying, I know you guys are thinking about this. Why would he choose Jacob and not Esau? So he doesn't wait for me to tell him. He says, I know Bill well enough. This is what he's going to think. He says, certainly not. There's no unrighteousness with God. How? For he says to Moses, I will have mercy on whomever I will have mercy. And I will have compassion on whomever I will have compassion. So he goes back to Exodus and says, here's my proof. He's already told you this before. Then he says, so then it's not of him who wills. See, that creature always choosing left, but freely.
Sure.
He says, not of him who wills, nor of him who runs. No matter how hard the guy tries to keep the law or do any of those things outwardly, right? But of God who shows mercy. To God alone be the glory again. See, for the scripture says to Pharaoh, now here's where you think he's done explaining. That would have been enough for me right there. But he says, okay, listen. The scripture says to Pharaoh, for this very purpose I have raised you up, that I might show my power in you. You're like, well, how did he show his power in, right? That my name may be declared in all the earth. God be the glory. Therefore, he has mercy on whom he will, and on whom he wills, he hardens. So now you got to talk about hardening. So I said, if you look back there, you'll see that it kind of alternates. The Pharaoh, a miracle happens, the Pharaoh hardens his heart. And then you'll see something else happen. Then it says, God hardened his heart.
That's right.
Right? And you're saying, well, what's it? I'm saying, you can have a discussion about how God hardens a heart. Does he just give the Pharaoh the opportunity to fail miserably by having this miracle done in front of him? See, the opportunity, God can present you with the opportunity. If he doesn't keep the opportunity from happening, is he actively making you sin? No. But if you get the opportunity to sin, and that woman keeps running by, right, well then you're what? You're like, I don't have to fail here. Is it God's fault that you fail? Does he have to keep all women off your street? You know what I mean? No. So you begin to see, but Paul's argument is so thought-out. He's going here like, what are they not going to like about this? Especially with his audience that he's got here, right? This very variable audience. And he's like, when he gets a chance, he wants to take you back and show you, well, how did he choose the Jews in the first place? Right? And he says, I chose you because you're the least of all these people.
Yes.
Not the best or the greatest or any of the, like, the most numerous or any of it. He's like, no, that I might be glorified. My name might be glorified in choosing you.
Yes.
And then they turn out to be just what you'd expect them to be, miserable creatures most of the time, right? Every time, like you were saying, every time you find they rebel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and even get down to Job and you realize, here's his friends, they're miserable friends. They give him bad advice, and you're like, what is going on here? So when you do this, and here's where you ends up, 19, you will say to me then, why does he still find fault then? Right? If this is the way it is, Bill, why does he find fault with this? We're already trapped, and and I don't see Bill. This doesn't seem, still seems unfair somehow. And he's like, then he says, who has resisted his will? Bill, you just told me it's God's will about who is born again and who's not. That's really in effect what you're telling me, Bill. Right? He's showing mercy to some and not to the others. But indeed, oh man, who are you to reply against God? This is Paul's argument. And he says, will the thing formed to him say to him who formed it, why have you made me like this? He's back to the potter and the clay.
That's right.
Right? And he says, does not the potter have the power over the clay from the same lump to make one vessel for honor and another for dishonor? And about that time, the first night that I ever saw this, honestly, 6 hours. I just read nothing but those words right there that I read tonight. I could not believe what I was reading. And I kept trying to find a way around it till sunup.
Thank you.
And at sunup, I just surrendered.
Thank you.
And I said, Lord, it must be this way. Right? I'm out of ways to try to understand. Paul's got me boxed in. Every time I want to say it's a little unjust, Paul anticipates it and knocks my argument sideways before I can even get to it.
Right.
And eventually the potter and the clay was just too much for me. I started looking at these other references, and then he finishes with this. Let me give you this, make sure first. I want to make sure that I think it's Isaiah 45. Lois, somebody knock. There it is.
I know, because I thought you were.
I was wrong about it. I skipped 44, I think, and 48 and 46. It's Isaiah 45 is the other one. It's there. So I was close, but no cigar. So now he says that, what if God, wanting to show his wrath, now that's a showstopper, think about it. What if God, wanting to show his wrath, to make his power known? You're like, holy cow, right? Endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath prepared for destruction. So the people who are now being prepared for destruction, the vessels of wrath, he's enduring them. That's what he says, right? Why is he doing it? So that his power will be known in the justice of punishing those people. He's not embarrassed by hell. He's not ashamed and trying to apologize. Justice is a beautiful thing. I just don't believe in it. I don't want pure justice. He loves pure justice. He is pure justice. So he wants you to see his power in those people suffering, and he wants you to see his power in Lois being changed. Both of those things honor him.
Sure.
And if the whole of the universe is really made to glorify him, if that's all, that turns out to be true, and I believe it to be true, then he's going to be honored and glorified by those people who are in hell eternally, and then he will be by us who are praising him eternally in eternal bliss. And I wouldn't have even given him that plan, except he didn't ask me. He just told me how it's going to be, and I surrendered after 6 hours of it. I'm just saying that.